What happened? There's no streaming. It's too personal. I cannot repeat that. Again. Okay, let me start again. Okay. Guys, I wanted to tell you I love you. I love you all for coming here. I love you for being here every year with us. Many of you coming so many years in a row, and those who came here for the first time. You are fantastic. You are absolutely incredible. And I was so moved by when I was watching your works during the weekend and yesterday. 4 hours of a very interesting material, some incredible movies, some very good rehearsals, very good attempts, very good experiments. This was an extreme pleasure and satisfaction for me, and this feeling that it's worth doing this. I mean, we're begging for money and submitting applications for the whole year, and now we feel that it really makes sense. It's worth doing this because you confirm that the things that are happening here make deep sense. I will talk about it a bit later. First, can you turn down the light? I will show you. Unfortunately, Florent is always better than me by several leagues, and he should be doing these workshops, not me, because we made a making of from our previous editions of our Film Spring Open workshop, the history of Film Spring Open, but it's absolutely nothing in comparison to what Florent did. It was so moving, it was deep, and I'll be watching that every year, every evening. We've managed to get well-known stars.
I've been coming here for quite a few years now. I am from France and here I play a zombie.
We learn to make films, we talk about films, so we see films and we make films. Cinebus is a small film studio, a very economic one. It is to give young people a chance to make films cheaper. As you remember, you you were to start. I'm. Could you turn down the light again? If you recall well, from the lecture from my opening lecture, this ladder is a symbol of what we're doing here every year, but especially this year, it's of immense meaning. And a lot of that my lecture I will devote to this, because you all are standing at different levels, especially right now in the room. Among our mentors, there are those who are on the top of this ladder or very close to the top, but I think everybody puts another goal in front of them, and some of you are in the bottom of the ladder. This special time, this edition was devoted to artificial intelligence, and I have a deep feeling that what will happen very soon can change a lot our lives. That this window, I showed it in the beginning. This window might not be so transparent as we all thought so far. You can turn on the light. I would like to say a few words about something that which is in nature of what we're all doing here. And it doesn't matter what sort of profession is that, because we're entering this process at different stages. Every work of art initially has to have a plan. In our case, this is a script. A script which every time is an attempt to combine, to tie our own thoughts, our own life, our own longings to the viewer, to our future audience. We want to confirm, we have to embed our existence in the heart of others. The book on the right hand side, many of you know that. But there are also people in the room who don't know that book. This is a Bible of American scriptwriters. Star Wars would not be created without Joseph Campbell. Not only this book, but also many other books that Joseph Campbell wrote. In short, Joseph Campbell, for his whole life, studied mythology, fairy tales, religions, and he came to the conclusion that this subconscious, the common subconscious of ours, is connected by a very by the same method, that there is a certain repeatability in fairy tales, in mythologies, and religions, and he set out to find details that get reconfirmed or get repeated in all those stories. There are plenty of those elements. There are plenty of common elements, and he created a sort of a matrix, which American scriptwriters use when they write their scripts. They're also filtering the scripts that they already wrote through what Joseph Campbell wrote. In a very, very short words, because we're not in a seminar or script seminar, I will repeat what is important to remember. That every time when we're writing a script, any type of tale, any sort of narrative, it can be a VR project. In the outset, we have a protagonist. Other heroes too, but let's say we have a protagonist. Let's focus on this one character. We're presenting this character to our audience. In a way, we're also presenting the audience with the protagonist's problem. This is also a very important element. And after a while, we put our protagonist in a world where we put obstacles and enemies and traitors before him. In other words, in order for our protagonist to achieve their goal, we try to make it more and more difficult. It doesn't matter if it's an action film or a love or a romance or a comedy or a psychological thriller. Every time this schematic is the same. The template is the same. Without this template of enemies, surprises, turning points, these obstacles that we're throwing at protagonist's legs, at the protagonist's path, there is no good story. So because the viewer will not be interested in the things that they can foresee. Faulkner, who at some point of his writing career was invited to Hollywood to write scripts, after 1 year he met with a journalist who asked him, "Tell me, you started writing scripts. Could you tell me what's the difference between writing between the work of a writer, novel writer, and a script writer?" And he says, "Well, it's the same stuff. I'm sitting for 8 hours and I'm scribbling away some things. But one thing is really interesting for me in terms of writing the script, because they tell me from the outset that you have the second and third act." And I say, "I'm living in a society in which people are born, live, and die in the first act. There is no talk about the second or third act." And this is how it is. That's why we're watching movies. Quite often our life is limited to one area, to certain schematics, to certain templates, so to speak. And that's why we are going to the movies, to see the life of others, in order to see what the life of in the second or third act looks like. Quite often we sort of identify with those with our protagonists, and it is a very important element, because this personification, this identification is the emotional glue that connects you, that binds you to your protagonist, to your audience. There are certain stages I would like to describe. First of all, we always start with some sort of a normal world. The protagonist is always embedded in a certain world. So it doesn't matter if it's a, I don't know, martial state in Poland, or it's a small town or whatever. Every time there is a certain beginning. And the beginning is very well defined. The protagonist is set in this world who out of the blue, or maybe in a way which is planned, defines a certain goal. This moment is extremely important. Very often the protagonist refuses or rejects this goal, but then the goal comes back to him, because this allows us to identify with the protagonist, get closer to them. Campbell describes it in a great detail. He describes something much more important, that in our life, and this is very important, that very often our fates, the fate of our protagonists, are connected with the connection with a mentor, somebody who has bigger knowledge, who will guide your protagonist how to do things, how he should change, what he should do with his life, and how he should attain his goal. And the most often, the mentor shows that if you follow the path, and this path is clear before you and it's transparent, don't follow this path because other people cleared this path before you. If you want to achieve anything in life, I'm talking about the protagonists in our movies and narratives, seek the path which has not been cleared. And then, if the protagonist follows this call, he enters Act 2, the world of adventure. The world of adventure, the new world, the world of struggle. It doesn't matter if it's love or money or struggle for survival. Every time, this is the most dramatic time, is the moment of struggle, but the struggle is not only external, even though it is mostly external, but it's a moment of change, of metamorphosis. When quite often in the films you have this, it's an experience of a near-death experience, so to speak. Resurrection does not only belong to the Catholic religion. The protagonist, just like Osiris, Odin, Dionysus, also underwent this rebirth. It's of course I sort of copied it from Campbell because I'm not a great specialist in religion. This experience when our protagonist goes away from himself or herself, takes a risk, achieves something, whether it's an elixir, love, or a sword. In the third act, he comes back with something new, but he is or she is also new, a new person. Why am I telling you this story? This is not like a writing seminar. Ilona told you about this in the script writing group, and I'm telling to you that because of a very clear reason, because I want to ask you that when you go home, you should sit down with a piece of paper and you should write down the script of your life, the plan for the future. Yesterday, you experienced the satisfaction after your week's hard work. You experienced audience which was clapping and cheering your movies. And an audience which liked you, which were positive for you. Very often, many of you will never meet such an audience again in your life. If you want to meet an audience that would clap you and cheer you, you have to fight for it. You have to plan it. There's nobody waiting for you outside of those windows. Outside of the windows is a cruel world, a world of struggle. This is the second act of your life. You have to devote yourself to it. And you have much less chance if you do it alone. Because lone wolves die first. You need more swords in your party to win this war. But you have to also understand that you have to be prepared for what will happen, and what will happen very soon. This dark window I showed you, this is a big unknown. This is a monster that awaits you there. So either, like in mythology, you will understand that the god who shows you this hand with the other hand shows you go in. But then we have to understand this message. We have to use this artificial intelligence in a wise way, but first you have to learn it and understand it. It's not only about the AI. You have to understand all the obstacles that the world is throwing into your path. I'm quite often watching the movies of students in film schools, and I'm wondering, for whom are those films made? Quite often the film students believe that the world is waiting for their vision, and I'm telling them very bluntly, you're making a mistake. And I repeat that to you because I said that many times. Nobody's waiting for your movies. Nobody needs you. Not a single one of you. The world does not need any new artists. We have so many artists. So if you want to win, do not imagine that you have a positive audience. Imagine a viewer who hates you, who can't stand you, who despises you, who doesn't want you. They have too many screens, too many stories. Your role is to overcome this hate, and this is a challenge. Remember yesterday's applause, yesterday's projection, fantastic. Within a week, you made great things. You've learned a lot of things. With a standard audience, that would not be the case. We would be sort of hearing the chairs clapping up, and at the end there will be nobody in the room. Film Spring Open is your beginning. For a filmmaker, we're trying to create a place for a filmmaker where there's no jealousy, where you meet mentors. Quite often people who are very close to you in terms of age. Maślona, who won Golden Lions, is not much older than you, and he already made a fantastic movie. So yes, it can be done, but you have to be dedicated. You have to write the script, and with iron consequence, you have to follow it, and you have to be ready for change. If you stay as you are, and you especially can see that in the film schools, which are as a winter sleep of a bear. People don't do anything for 4 years. They drink beer, they talk to each other, and they make some movies, hoping that somebody's waiting for them. Nobody's waiting for them. That's at the end of my sermon. Oh, we're doing all that because and only because you made it. Just like Florent, was successful in building a team. People really love each other and they make fantastic things together. And I want to repeat that. He should sit in my place here and tell you how to achieve success. Once again, personally, I would like to personally thank him for the 15 years with us here. And without a team of collaborators, I must tell you that making this attempt is very, it is very complicated. It's not so easy. And already last year, it went very smoothly. This year, I'm pretty hysterical and neurotic. So whatever happens, I'm starting to shout. But this year, exceptionally, everything went very, very, very peacefully and smoothly, thanks to those people. Thanks to everybody who works in the office. But I wanted to say one thing, and this is maybe more important, and you should be aware of that. That everybody wants to be an artist. Yesterday we watched 2 movies made by our collaborators. Paweł Gunia, who organizes this work here, he made an incredibly funny movie about ponies. He was working here like 24/7, but meanwhile he had time to shoot this footage, and I was most touched by the movie by Mateusz Jaśko, who half a year ago was fighting off the cancer. He came here sick, and he helped us with the lighting as every year, and he made a beautiful movie, the last movie that you saw. I think that Mateusz is an example. He's a protagonist of his life. He's the hero. He fought and won against the monster. He came back and he wants to have it more in life. I would like to thank very much to all the people that you can see here on the screen. I don't want to list these people because I will be talking about each of them for half an hour, and you want to catch your train, I know. And you want to go home. But this is a great group of people who cooperates with Film Spring Open for many years already, and you're fantastic. Without you, that would never be possible. Mateusz is listed here in the lighting warehouse, and every one of them is willing to help others. Everyone has a group of friends here, and it's a group which is very close-knit. I'm really thankful. And sorry, I didn't mention Marian. Which of the ladies played the clown? Victoria Wedicha or Victoria Sojka? Victoria Sojka. Oh, I'm sorry. I must say, yesterday, our volunteer, Victoria Sojka, you've seen that story about the nightmare clown who changes from a girl into a monster. Oh, it was absolutely ingenious. And she was a volunteer and she worked all the time. Another example. Sorry, I didn't mention her. But I just realized when I saw her name that I forgot about it. So that's the last thing. Give him a big round of applause. Thanks to those people and those institutions, so our collaborators and the institutions that you see on the screen, Film Spring Open without them, Film Spring Open would not happen. So I hope you really moved me. Thank you very much, and see you next year. Stop or I will cry. The dinner soon. The lunch is soon. So take care. Okay, let's take a common picture outside. Let's go out of the hall and let's make a common picture. We have beautiful light outdoors, so let's go. And thank you from your interpreter, and hope to see you next year too. Bye. Mhm.